Welcome to NarrativeNook Audiotales, where enchanted stories come to life. If you enjoy our stories, please subscribe, like and share to support our channel. Enjoy listening. Lucky for them, the new girl, Miss Bennet, found the weak spot of Oscar. Who knew how much more money they would have lost otherwise? "Is the gift ordered?" asked Hans Collins. Julian respectfully responded, "The owner wasn't willing to sell. We've tried negotiating several times without success." "Who's their guy?" "They say it's someone from the Macmillan family," replied Julian. The Macmillans were good buddies with the Collins. There's no way Hans Collins would risk falling out with them over a necklace worth 30 million. He would have to pick another one. Julian browsed the QI website again, and Hans Collins' eyes scanned through the options, finally settling on a 4-leaf clover necklace. The 4 leaves were studded with top-grade green diamonds. "It's a shame it's only worth 2.5 million. It felt like it's not expensive enough." "That one," Hans Collins said, handing the iPad back to him. "I'm going home for dinner with my sister tonight, so try to wrap up the important stuff this afternoon." "Sure thing." Julian selected a few more important documents and respectfully presented them to him. "Oh, by the way, boss, word's out that you're back in town. A bunch of folks want to have dinner with you in the next few days. When do you reckon?" "Blow them off." Hans Collins felt he needs to make time to spend with his sister. Meanwhile, Oscar had been wailing in the station, proclaiming his innocence. He insisted the recording was done under Arabella's threat and that all the evidence was fabricated by her. He's also crying out to see Kenneth in person, claiming he's a long-time employee that Kenneth promoted. There's no way he would do anything to harm the Collins family. The new cop had never seen such a crybaby of an old man. He reported the situation to Kenneth. Kenneth and Louisa happened to be passing by, and upon hearing this, they stormed into the interrogation room. "Mr. Collins, you're finally here. I was about to bash my head against this wall, but then I thought, wouldn't that be just what the villain wants?" Oscar immediately knelt at Kenneth's feet, sobbing uncontrollably. "You have no idea, this new girl at the company is framing me. I'm so bitter inside. I still remember the favor you did for me back in the day. How could I ever do anything to hurt the Collins family?" "To hurt you? She's way out of line." Oscar clung to Kenneth's feet, crying his eyes out. "Mr. Collins, you have to save me. No one else can clear my name. All it takes is a word from you." "That's the girl who walked in just now. So you're saying my precious daughter is framing you? You want her to go to jail?" Louisa's face was cold, radiating an air of aloof elegance. Upon hearing "precious daughter," Oscar was dumbstruck and thought he had heard wrong. "You've misunderstood. I was talking about that girl from the company. Not Serena. She is my precious daughter. My own flesh and blood." Hearing Louisa's words, Oscar's jaw dropped, and he was too stunned to even continue his crying fit. "Wasn't that girl called Arabella? Weren't Kenneth and Louisa's children named Serena?" Oscar was totally stunned, unable to utter a single word. "This company, under your leadership, hasn't made any progress. I was originally planning to shut it down. But since my daughter is on holiday with nothing to do, I thought I'd let her run it." So casually handing over such a big company to his daughter. Hearing Kenneth Collins' words, Oscar's mouth hung open wide enough to fit 2 eggs. "I never expected her to be so responsible, finding all these problems within the company. I've seen the evidence of your betrayal myself. Arabella Bennet didn't falsely accuse you. You're here ranting and raving, slandering her, and wanting to put her behind bars. Do you really think the Collins family wouldn't protect her?" No, Mr. Collins, you're mistaken." Oscar was instantly scared out of his wits. I didn't know that girl. No, I didn't know Miss Bella is your daughter." If he had known, he would never have dared to act rashly. At that moment, he looked at Louisa's icy face and suddenly realized that she and Arabella did bear some resemblance. Only that, Arabella exuded a stronger aura and was even more charming. "Mr. Collins, I was confused for a moment and did something to let down the company, to let you down." Oscar simply admitted his guilt, hoping for a more lenient punishment. But before he could finish, Kenneth kicked him away, saying, "You're a repeat offender. Since the company opened, you've been messing up for a year." "Mr. Collins, I was wrong. I was so stupid. You can hit me and scold me, but please don't let me go to jail. Oscar crawled over again, desperately begging at Kenneth's trousers. I have elderly parents, young children. Let go. Kenneth kicked him away again, impatiently saying, when you did those things, didn't you think about your family? Regretting now? Too late. I heard he often bullied Arabella in the company. Louisa glanced at the man on the ground, then turned to the police officer beside her and said, please handle it properly, he's been with our company for a while. Yes. The officer nodded, his gaze on Oscar turning frosty. No ma'am, please take back your words, I know I was wrong. Oscar tried to grab Louisa's skirt. Fortunately, Kenneth pulled Louisa behind him just in time. You dare touch my wife's dress? No, I didn't. If I don't teach you a lesson, you won't realize your mistakes. Kenneth rolled up his sleeves and gave him a good beating. Mr. Collins, please stop. Oscar covered his face with his hands and said, you're getting old. If you get hurt, I won't be able to explain. If your sons come to settle accounts with me, I can't bear it. Let someone else handle me. You calm down. Who were you just cursing? Kenneth was panting, but he had no intention of letting him go. Say it, who were you cursing? I was cursing myself. If you want to protect your family, admit to what you've done. Yes, Mr. Collins, whatever you say. Oscar had no intention of resisting. Kenneth kicked him again, sending him into a corner. Getting old indeed, feeling tired just from a bit of action. All right, you're getting on in years, stop exerting yourself. Louisa stepped forward, wiping the sweat off of her husband's face, then gave Oscar a disgusted look. If he really touched your dress just now, I would have cut off his hand. This shameless man is doing all kinds of evil deeds, and still trying to escape punishment. He's a beast. Kenneth turned back around, glaring angrily at Oscar, saying, stay here and reflect on your actions. Oscar knew that begging wouldn't do any good, so he just leaned against the corner muttering, okay. After Kenneth and Louisa left, 2 interrogators walked in. Seeing Oscar all battered and bloody, they couldn't help but ask the people around, what the heck happened here? Did Kenneth and Louisa do this? I tripped and fell by myself, Oscar hurriedly explained. It has nothing to do with anybody else. Even though his face looked like it had been pounded, everyone knew that with the status of the Collins family, if they wanted someone to disappear, it could be done in the blink of an eye. Who asked you to be so blind? One of them didn't know if he was scolding Oscar for offending the Collins family with his lack of foresight or for tripping over his own feet. Oscar didn't dare to clarify, only knowing that he had offended Arabella and the Collins family. His life was basically over. Man, why did that girl have to be the daughter of the Collins family? No wonder she had such a strong aura. That afternoon, Arabella walked into the production workshop and said, everyone, stop what you're doing and listen up. The workers on the 5 production lines immediately stopped and silently watched her. Even though Arabella was only 18, her authority was awe-inspiring, and everyone instinctively obeyed her. Looking at her, people couldn't help but sigh. Their own children were still in high school, memorizing English words at 18, while Arabella was already managing a company at the same age. Life sure was unfair. Tomorrow is the day our company ships out. As you all know, because Oscar sold the designs to SY Fashion, we can't sell the stock in our warehouse. I need everyone's cooperation from here on. After Arabella laid out her plan, everyone agreed, thinking that this young girl was incredible. Dean couldn't believe that Ms. Bennett had managed to convince everyone so quickly. He admired her. This girl was like the backbone of the company, and as long as she was there, people felt safe. After making her rounds in the production workshop, Arabella went to the design department. Molly was slumped over her computer, looking listless. What's up? Arabella came over and asked softly. Molly straightened up suddenly and said, Ms. Bennett, you're here? I'm fine. It's just. Arabella's gaze fell on her computer screen, which displayed the electronic registration form for a national design competition. The deadline for registration was 5 p.m., and it was already 4:50 p.m. Not joining? Arabella asked, raising an eyebrow. Ms. Bennett, you don't know. This competition requires having an assistant. Although Molly wanted to prove herself through this competition under Arabella's encouragement, She lacked confidence and didn't have an assistant. How could an unknown designer like her afford one? She could barely make ends meet as it was. Has no one from the design department signed up? Arabella looked around at the others. The designers quickly lowered their heads. They didn't dare to join such a big national competition, fearing that they would not perform well. Even though it's an individual competition, they had to list their current employer when they signed up. If they can bag a high rank, that would be the bee's knees. But if they end up at the bottom of the pile, they were just dragging the company's name through the mud. And if they got canned because of it, that would be a real kick in the teeth. As the clock ticked on, Molly felt a pang of regret. With a heavy sigh, she was about to close the webpage. But just as her cursor hovered over the close button, Arabella chimed in, "I'll go with you." Her words had everyone in the design department, including Molly, bug-eyed. "Miss Bennett, are you?" The company's big kahuna was going to be her assistant? Was she dreaming? "Miss Bennett, you're going to be a sidekick for Molly? Isn't that a bit beneath you? People will laugh their heads off if they find out. Miss Bennett, you're the big cheese of the company. Molly doesn't deserve." Arabella didn't bat an eye. "Just sign up. Miss Bennett." Before Molly could say anything more, Arabella asked, "What, you think I can't cut the mustard? Not up to snuff? Or are you worried I'll drag down your rank?" No. Of course, Molly didn't think any of those things. She just felt bad about having Miss Bennett as her assistant. "If you win, that's the best thank you I could ask for." Arabella wanted to help her because of her unique perspective on design and her genuine love for the industry. Despite having seen its darker side, she never gave up on her dreams and continued to give it her all. Although she lacked confidence and was not daring enough in her design thinking, Arabella believed she had potential and talent and was worth investing in. "Miss Bennett." Molly's eyes welled up with tears of gratitude. After a moment's hesitation, she quickly filled in her information. In the final minute before the deadline, Molly fully submitted her application, with the whole department cheering her on. "You got this. To be honest, I always thought you had a knack for design. Now with Miss Bennett by your side, you can let loose and give it your all. Even if there's a hiccup, Miss Bennett will have your back. If she can't fix it, no one can. You're one lucky duck to have Miss Bennett as your right-hand woman. Go get Molly. You can do it. You're going to make a name for yourself." Molly had never felt such overwhelming support and well wishes before. Gratefully, she said, "Thanks everyone. I'll give it my all." She then turned to Arabella with gratitude. Without her, she might have missed this opportunity. "No need for thanks. I'll tutor you after work for the next few days," Arabella replied nonchalantly. "But not tonight, I have plans." "No problem, Miss Bennett, whenever suits you." Molly never imagined meeting someone who would support her in the field of design, let alone tutor her. She was truly lucky. After work, Arabella texted Romeo Macmillan, telling him not to pick her up for the next few days as she had some matters to take care of. Then Louisa got a call. "Mom, I can't make it for dinner tonight. I might be coming home late for the next few days." "No biggie, you and Romeo go have a blast. I got this." Louisa thought they were going to have some alone time. "It's work-related." Hearing this, Louisa thought, work-related? Not done yet? Seeing her daughter so dedicated to her work, she laughed. "Don't overwork yourself. Remember to eat. If you can't get it done, ask someone for help." "Sure." Arabella replied gently, "I'll be quite busy for the next few days. There's a competition I need to attend." After hearing that, Louisa chatted for a bit and then hung up. Not long after, her phone rang again. Seeing it was her son, she picked up immediately and said, "It's been a while since you last called me. When are you coming back? I've asked you to come home and check on your sister. How many days has it been? Are you trying to piss me off?" She was about to give him a piece of her mind when she heard him say, "I'm coming back tonight." Louisa was taken aback. "Tonight? That's pretty sudden." "Yes, I'm coming home for dinner." Hans Collins had already bought presents and was on his way home, telling Julian, who was driving, "Step on it." Upon hearing that, Louisa immediately said, "No rush, safety first." Great, Hans Collins was coming back. After hanging up, she had more dishes prepared. When she heard that her brother was coming back, Serena Collins was overjoyed. She waited at the front door for quite a while, and finally Julian's car pulled up at the villa. Julian opened the car door for Hans Collins. Seeing that tall and stern figure stepping out, Serena excitedly called out, "Brother." Hearing her voice, Hans Collins softened a bit. After all, they grew up together, and before Arabella came, the whole family doted on her like a little princess. Their bond was real. "You're finally back. I missed you so much." Serena's face was full of joy. "You're always abroad. It's not easy for you to come home. Can you stay longer this time?" Hans Collins' face softened. "Sure." "Awesome." Although Serena was somewhat in awe of her brother, she boldly walked over and took Hans Collins' hand. "We've got a new sister at home recently. It's quite lively, and now that you're back it's going to be even more so." Hans Collins glanced at her hand, gently removing it. "You're grown up now, you should act more mature." He never liked being touched, but he didn't mind Serena's touch. He was even somewhat gentle. Serena knew that if anyone else dared to take his hand, he would definitely get angry. Her brother was already quite special to her. "How's the new sister?" Hans Collins asked softly. Upon hearing this, Serena's face changed, and she quickly said, "Good, quite good. Just like you, a person with a strong personality." She deliberately avoided eye contact, even feigning fear in her heart. Her behavior naturally caught Hans Collins' eye. It seemed that the girl was a difficult person to get along with. "It's all right, spill the beans." Hans Collins walked with her towards the main hall. Along the way, Serena wanted to speak but hesitated. She deliberately concealed the fear and anxiety in her eyes and hesitated for a while before saying, "All in all, you'll find out soon enough." Hans Collins' eyes dimmed a bit. It seemed that sister of his often bullied her. The dinner table was loaded with all kinds of scrumptious dishes. "Hans, you haven't been home in a while. Share a few drinks with your old man tonight." Kenneth poured him a glass of wine, then turned to the girl beside him and said, "Serena, you're still young. Stick to your juice." Seizing the opportunity to act cute, Serena chimed in, "I want a drink with Big Bro too." "Good girl, wait till you're grown." Kenneth poured himself another glass, then cheerfully asked his son, "Heard you've been doing well overseas?" Pretty stable now." Hans Collins had been busy abroad for several months, solving a handful of issues, and finally, things were settling down. He glanced around, noticing there were only 4 sets of cutlery. Apart from his parents, there were only his and Serena's. Where was his sister? Louisa chimed in while bustling around. "Bella just called. She's not finished with some work." "Work?" Hans Collins was a bit taken aback. Wasn't his sister only 18? "You might not know this, but your sister is currently managing our fashion company. You must have heard about her achievements from overseas." Kenneth happily clinked glasses with him, and after gulping down his drink he sighed. "Who would have thought your sister had such impressive business acumen? She found so many problems within days of her taking charge. Even caught the main culprit behind the scenes." Thinking about Oscar, Kenneth felt a pang of heartache. Recalling the company's recent activities, Hans instinctively uttered a name, "Arabella." "Yes, Arabella Collins, your sister." Upon hearing the term sister, Serena bit her lip and served her brother some food. "Big bro, this is your favorite meat. Eat up." "Thanks." Hans Collins was usually rather aloof, but his gaze softened when he looked at his family. Serena felt a lot better. That dimwit, instead of bonding with her brother, she was busy working. What a scatterbrain. She continued serving wine to her brother and parents, warming up the atmosphere like a cozy quilt. Upon realizing that the person who recently stirred up the company was his sister, Hans Collins' gaze deepened, feeling rather intrigued. The new collection would be launched tomorrow. She didn't come home for dinner. She probably busy preparing, right? Although he hadn't met her and didn't know what kind of person she was, her talent, decision-making skills, and ambition at such a young age had already impressed him. "If your sister were a bit older, I'd really like to hand over the other companies to her." Kenneth had full faith in his daughter's business skills, but she was still young and had just returned home. He didn't want her to overwork. Louisa added while eating, "Oh right, she mentioned on the phone that she'll be attending a design competition in a few days. She's really busy. She might not be home for dinner these nights." Ever since she returned, she had been throwing herself into work, it was a bit heartbreaking. Initially, handing over the company was just for her to have a taste of it and to bring her some joy. He never expected her to make such groundbreaking achievements. But she was very responsible, which was a pleasant surprise for everyone. While keeping the company running like a well-oiled machine, she still finds time to indulge in her hobbies and participate in contests. Bella's going to a design competition. Kenneth was taken aback. I heard her mention it. I didn't realize she could manage a company and do design too. Louisa was proud and happy for her daughter, but she was also worried about her. She was so young, yet carrying such heavy responsibilities. She needed to show Bella more support. She should find time to ask Bella if she was happy with her current job. If not, she should let go and enjoy life. That's what mattered most. Design competition? Hans Collins suddenly remembered Julian's words about being invited to be a judge in a design competition. But he was too busy and turned it down. By the way, have your brothers been in touch with you recently? Louisa took a sip of her wine and continued, have they mentioned when they're coming back? It's been several days, and no one has called me. No. Hans Collins didn't communicate much with his brothers. They occasionally sent messages, especially the youngest one, who was a chatterbox. But he rarely replied, being too busy with work most of the time. He had been very busy abroad in the past 2 years, trying to expand the group and break into foreign markets. Some places were unfriendly to foreigners, causing him lots of difficulties. Some other places had powerful influences, making them hard to handle. Thankfully, through his efforts, the group had grown more than twice its size since Kenneth handed it over to him. Besides work, he rested. His family knew his routines, so they didn't find it strange if he didn't respond to their messages. I heard our R&D department has made a new breakthrough, and many foreign powers are interested. Be careful. Kenneth trusted his son's abilities, but some powers were not just local but international competition, just not openly contested. I don't know how many obstacles they will put in your way or how many unethical things they will do. Kenneth was a bit worried. Don't worry, I'll handle it. Hearing his son's assurance, Kenneth felt a bit relieved. I know you're capable. You've been the most worry-free since you were a kid, but don't push yourself too hard. Remember to rest. Since it's not easy for our son to come back this time, let's not talk about work anymore. Louisa served Hans Collins some food and said, here, eat more. This is your favorite. At Villa Cascada, Arabella stored the extracted jade leaf in liquid form at a low temperature of -18 degrees Celsius. The surrounding scientists and experts were in disbelief, expressing their admiration. We've finally succeeded. Miss Bennet, you're amazing. In such a short time, you managed to extract the jade leaf with such high purity. I'm really impressed. We've been trying for days without success. But with Miss Bennet here, this tough problem is solved. Ha ha, now we can finally take a good rest. But there are other herbs. Only by combining them can we maximize the level of acetylcholine in the brain. That was even more challenging than extracting jade leaf. I'll give it a try. Arabella checked the time. It was already 8 in the evening. She used computer simulations to design and synthesize according to the internal structure of a dozen herbs, then started the actual experiment to see what kind of effect it would produce. After dinner, Hans Collins sat on the sofa, occasionally glancing towards the door. Serena came over with a plate and a sweet smile on her face. Bro, I made you apple crabs. Cute, huh? She was all smiles and innocence. I also made pear birds and strawberry Santas. Do they look like what they're supposed to be? She pointed to the fruits on the plate with her injured finger. Hans Collins noticed at once. You hurt yourself? He took the plate from her and immediately ordered a servant, get the first aid kit. The servant rushed off. Serena feigned surprise at her finger. I must have nicked it when I was cutting the fruits. It's nothing, it's not hurting at all. I didn't even notice until you pointed it out. You nicked your finger, and it doesn't hurt? You're lying. Hans Collins knew her too well. She'd always been a considerate girl. Once, when she scraped her knee in the garden, she held back her tears to keep everyone else from worrying about her. Serena hid her finger behind her back, still smiling innocently. You're hardly home, and I wanted to make a special fruit plate for you. but I saw other people doing it so easily that I got all flustered and messed it up. It took me forever to make these few shapes. You're not going to knock me for it, right? How could I? Hans Cullen's voice was unusually gentle. Even though my shapes look all wonky, I'll get better if I practice more. Serena laughed sweetly. But you've got to come home more often, give me more chances to practice. You can't just come home twice a year, like this year. I've been waiting until my neck's sore. Hans Cullen's voice was indulgent. You don't have to do these little things. But I want to make yummy food for you. As long as you come home more often, I'll do anything. Serena cooed. You're not going to stop eating it just because my fruits look ugly, right? Hans Cullen skewered a strawberry Santa with a fruit pick and handed it to her first. Serena took it happily, grinning from ear to ear. Thanks, bro. Try one too. It might look ugly, but it's really sweet. Just then, Martha came over with the first aid kit and squatted down next to Serena. You have no idea how much she's been looking forward to your return. Hans Collins looked at his sister, and his face softened. Martha chuckled as she disinfected the wound. By the way, she won first place in her piano competition again. She didn't mention a word about Arabella being Maestro Melody. What would you like as a reward? Hans Collins asked softly. Serena beamed at him. The best reward for me would be you coming home more often. Hans Collins' eyes softened. I'll come home when work's not too crazy. So that means you're agreeing? Awesome. I knew you loved me most. Serena was as happy as a kid who had just gotten candy. Hans Collins chatted with her for a while before he finally got up to go upstairs when it was time. Serena and Martha exchanged a knowing look. They were both pleased. It seemed Hans Collins still cared about his sister. He did not just care, she was pretty important to him. After all, she had been living with this family for 18 years. Before Arabella showed up, everyone in the family treated her like a little princess. This deep bond of affection was something Arabella couldn't change in a mere few days. Once Serena and Martha left, the maids started whispering among themselves. Why else would the boss hand over the conglomerate to him? Out of 5 sons, he's the only one with the most self-discipline, the coolest head, and the most meticulous mind. Don't you guys find this rigid lifestyle suffocating? What are you talking about? That's discipline. A man with such perseverance, he's just so irresistible. I think he's essentially a very clear-headed person. I agree. Once Hans Collins finished his bath, he busied himself in his study until bedtime, then he headed to his bedroom. On the corner table in the bedroom, there lay a tiny, delicate gift box. Hans Collins glanced at it, knowing that his sister hadn't come back yet. He turned off the lights and went to sleep. Arabella didn't get home until 11 at night. After bathing and attending to some private matters on her phone, she hurried off to the lab early the next morning. Last night's drug synthesis didn't go as planned. Many problems arose during the research process. Several experts studied till dawn, and Arabella, so as not to worry her parents, came home late last night and left for the lab before dawn. When Hans Collins got up, he was a bit surprised to hear that his sister had left early. Typically, a girl her age would sleep in during the holidays, but in his sister's eyes, work seemed to be the only thing. The gift will have to wait until tonight. During breakfast, Serena was constantly trying to butter up Hans Collins, now pouring him milk, then getting him a sandwich, then passing him a napkin. Bro, are you coming home for dinner tonight? Watching Serena prance around him, Hans Collins calmly replied, yes. Awesome. Then I won't go out for dinner with Brooklyn Reed and the others tonight. Serena was thrilled. We were supposed to go for afternoon tea, then a spa, and then dinner, but if you're here, I won't bother with them. Hearing this, Louisa gave a satisfied smile and said, Serena has you in her heart. If you're not busy, come home more often. Sure. Hans Collins gave Serena a gentle look, and after breakfast, Julian drove him to the company headquarters. While going through some documents, Hans Collins suddenly remembered something Julian had mentioned before. You said there was a design competition that wanted to invite me as a judge? I'm available. Hans Collins's voice was very calm, and then he went on reading the document in his hand. I'll attend. Julian was stunned. The boss never changed his decisions. Today was really weird. Could it be that this design competition had some special connection, or did they have some dirt on the boss? Inviting or forcing the boss to go. But the boss didn't seem like the kind of person who would easily submit. Hans Collins was reading the document when he suddenly remembered something. Oh right, keep an eye on the company's movements today. The goods were due today. He's not sure if his sister can deliver something satisfactory. If not, he would personally step in. Yes. Julian found today's boss to be quite different, not only changing previous decisions but also starting to pay attention to the small company. This was really strange. 9 in the morning. Arabella kicked off a live broadcast for the company's new product launch and invited Molly to be the host. Hey everyone, I'm Molly, a designer from Collins Fashion. This was Molly's first time in front of the camera. She was a bit shy at first, but quickly greeted everyone with great enthusiasm. Hey everyone, I'm designer Samuel. Samuel also greeted the audience, saying, I'm thrilled to bring you our new products in this way. See this floral dress in my hand? Does it look familiar? Yes. This is the new design released by SY Fashion yesterday. Actually, this design is a bit conservative. Let's see how I designed it, shall we? Molly picked up the scissors, cut it open from the waist, trimmed the top, removed the excess sleeves, cut open the shoulders, then slightly shortened the skirt of the lower half, connected them together, and a trendy off-shoulder floral dress was presented to everyone. This is the first new product we're launching today. Except for the fabric, the design was completely different. From the outside, it's more attractive and flattering than the floral dress from SY Fashion. Now, check out this dress. It seems a bit bulky. Let's see how I turn it into a sexy slim top and a hip-hugging skirt. Molly took the scissors again, bravely making changes. The number of viewers gradually increased. By the time Molly had modified 7 or 8 styles, the number of viewers had reached 320,000 and was still increasing. Miss Bennett, look, a lot of people are placing orders in the live room. Dean said it excitedly. He never expected this method to be effective. After Arabella sent Oscar to the police station yesterday, she modified all 23 styles again. Simple modifications like cutting the dress in half, adding puffed sleeves, changing the V-neck to a round neck, changing the long skirt to a short skirt, etc., topped with some accessories, and a brand new dress was born. Yesterday, she made a trip to the production workshop and had the workers temporarily stop their work to modify the finished products in the warehouse. Some only needed a few cuts, and some only needed slight adjustments. The workers quickly produced quite a few new styles. The number of viewers has exceeded 580,000. Dean said excitedly, Miss Bennett, look, a lot of comments say our new styles are better looking and more creative. They all cancelled their orders at SY Fashion and placed orders with us instead. SY Fashion's CEO Monica was furious when she heard the news, immediately calling an emergency meeting. The executives were pounding the table in anger. This is outrageous. Collins Fashion Group is live streaming our new styles being modified. Isn't this a blatant provocation? Their number of viewers has exceeded 700,000. At this rate, it'll soon reach 1 million. The key is that, except for the same fabric, the styles are completely different. We can't even accuse them of copying. What's infuriating is that their products are cheaper than ours. Now there are 12,000 orders cancelled on our backend. If this continues, we're going to lose big time. What's so special about that designer, Molly? How can she create such stunning styles with just a few simple modifications? They didn't know that Monica and Jason had colluded behind the scenes to steal Molly's designs, thinking that these new styles were all designed by Jason alone, so they were very angry, feeling that Collins Corporation had crossed the line. At this moment, Jason was watching Molly in the live room transform a halter dress into a high-end cocktail dress. His hand under the meeting table was quietly clenched into a fist. Thank you for listening. If you have enjoyed this story, please like and share so others can see it too. Also hit the subscription button and notification bell so you can be notified on our next release. Thank you for your support. God bless you.